Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Chris-Beth, Cowie, the founder of Empowered Facts and the host of BizGrams. I'm super excited and feel very privileged to bring to you another dynamic entrepreneur, Alejandro, the founder of the CTLYST. How are you doing this morning?
Very good, everybody. It's my pleasure to be here, Mary Beth.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Sorry, Chris Beth.
Hey, it's all good. It's all good. I've gotten CB, Mary Beth, like there's a whole bunch. I feel the love. Okay. So tell us, Alejandro, a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey. What brought you to this place? Who or what inspired you to become an entrepreneur and do the things that you're doing today?
Yes, I appreciate that question because I really don't come from a family of entrepreneurs. I grew up with the mentality and the teachings from my parents. You go to school, you graduate, you have to get that job, and then you have to move your way up the ladder. And if you change jobs also, by the way, that's almost looked at as being a negative from what I grew up in my parents and things like that. So you can imagine kind of what myself and my brother went through when we started to explore the whole entrepreneurial journey. And especially my brother, he tells a good story. He'd be an amazing guest, by the way.
Would love to have him.
Yeah, he worked for Target, and we all know what happened with Target. So once that happened, that's when his kind of journey began. And my parents did not, agree at all. They wanted him to be looking for a job, and he was, but things were not that easy, and so on and so forth. I'll let him kind of tell his story because it's very interesting. But as it relates to me, he was a big inspiration. This is really why I mention it. He is my younger brother, and I'm very proud of him. But he was my big inspiration in the sense that he kind of pushed me that little further that I needed to start to explore this. Now, I got to tell you, my timing couldn't have been more perfect because the business I began was at the beginning of 2020. Mm-hmm. And that was when I had decided that I wanted to, lend my strengths and my skills to a much broader base of customers and companies that could use somebody like myself. So my background is in sales. I've been in sales for about 18 years professionally, mainly in the digital space, but I've also played with, tangible goods and services. So what I wanted to do is help small businesses, basically, to grow and lend my services to them. And out of that grew CTLYST INstructive. And so the premise of CTLYST INstructive was, and if we just go back to the meaning of a catalyst, it's basically the agent of change that pushes or speeds up action. Mm-hmm. So that's basically the premise of CTLYST, in the sense that I would speak with business owners or sales individuals or sales teams and coach them through certain scenarios or jobs that they would like to win. Now, I say the timing couldn't have been more perfect because we all know we're living in a bit of a weird time, and I started it in before we kind of hit that first lockdown and all the craziness that we can all look back at. But in a sense, this is where the catalytic conversation, which I can get into a little bit further after, came into play, because these are things that I've learned all throughout my career, and I was now able to apply it not only to my own business in a time where nobody wanted to spend money, there was people being let go, but also teach others how to use that process. And as we all know, companies were not looking to increase headcount, so they were really in a certain time there in 2020 were functioning with the resources that they had. And what I found is that a lot of people that were currently helping these organizations even just stay afloat, right, were never salespeople. They were kind of just put into a sales role now to just try to generate some business while we were dealing with all these kind of uncertainties. So those organizations did not want to hire new people. That's where they leveraged me. And I think it was a good marriage during that time, because I was able to help as much as I could, and they didn't have to, continuously pay somebody with benefits, etc. And that's where the instructive part actually comes from, because the instructive part is, you can teach someone to fish, but you can give them a fish, and you feed them for a day. But if you teach them how to fish, you've basically fed them for forever. So that's kind of my philosophy as well, where I wouldn't just, that's the piece where it's much more of a coach role is what I played, where I would ask questions and things like that to discover, what are the competencies, where can we maybe reallocate some of the tasks within the sales process and things of that nature, so that they can learn to do it and not require somebody to be there full time. So that's kind of what, that's how my journey started. And it's certainly evolved, because I started, while I was doing that, I was studying real estate, which we briefly discussed before the call. And both myself and my wife have been involved in the real estate industry for about 8 years as investors, landlords, and tenant acquisition, a little bit of project management, property management you mentioned you were interested in. But then as I was studying, now I'm a licensed realtor as well. So where we've got CTLYST INstructive still alive and well. However, 90% of my time now is focused on the real estate business.
Hey, that is wonderful, and congratulations to you. I love that family get to inspire others, to really move forward. And I look forward to having your brother on the show. Maybe we'll have both of you back, and you could riff off of each other and share, that family bond, and the motivation. I think a lot of us sometimes may start this entrepreneurial journey and kind of looking for that source, right? And so it's great to hear that within your family, you've been able to experience that. And you talked about, starting just before nobody really knew this was coming, the pandemic, right? And to your point, here at E4X, we work with a lot of startups, primarily service-based entrepreneurs who are looking for support. And when COVID hit, many of them were forced to stop, pivot, make some changes, realign themselves. And you talked about that budget being tight, and being able to be in that consultative coaching role as you positioned it. I can see where the value and the benefit came to those folks in that context. So share with us a little bit, some sales processes, best practices when you're considering sales, and in particular, because we're in this digital world, how do we digitize our sales?
Yes.
Sales process,
Yes. So at the very core, so I'll backtrack a little bit, only because when I speak to any sales team or organization or executive, there needs to be a little bit of a mind shift. And what I mean by that is, it's almost getting in tune with your gratitude, is the way I put it, because regardless of if you win the business, lose the business, you can sometimes feel left like you were wasting your time, and or you might even just get somebody that's nasty on the other line, right? So with a gratitude exercise, where maybe for a week or so, I've done it 2 different ways, either just writing kind of things that you're grateful for, or taking a picture, at least 1 picture a day of something that you're grateful for. So it creates a bit of a mind shift. That's number 1. Number 2, especially during 2020, I was encouraging everybody to take a media vacation. And what that meant is just do not pay attention to the news, because
unplug.
Sales, not just unplug. Because sales, you have to understand several things. A no, and you're going to get many, many, many no's, only means no today. It may not necessarily mean no tomorrow, which is where I find that a lot of sales individuals lose opportunities because they decide to never follow up with that individual that said no, months ago. And you don't know how the situation may have changed, or their mindset, or their position, et cetera, to ask again if you can have that meeting or have that conversation or present a product. So what I have found throughout the years is many different tools and processes. A lot of people may be familiar with Salesforce. Salesforce does some magic where it allows you to enter, activities, log different calls, schedule some. I find it very useful. I've used many of them. But if you don't have a system, don't complain. Build your own is the other thing that I've learned. So I've worked for some organizations where there isn't a CRM tool. So you have to build your own Excel file and manage it in a different way that perhaps at least you understand, what your notes mean, the dates, and so that you can see the progression of the calls. And you're not going to win business on that first call. So the goal for first calls has to be very different than your call being the number 10th call. Okay. So, and you have to have that professional persistence, not to annoy people, but always have something of value to share, whether it be, you asked about electronically. What I'm finding recently is, in terms of electronically, there's ways of automating some communications. What you have to do is be very careful in regards to what content is there, because if the content is not relevant and somebody's receiving an email from you once a month, then perhaps they'll stop looking at it, or they'll say unsubscribe.
Yeah.
So for example, in the real estate industry, when I find a potential person that may be buying a home, they automatically receive a drip campaign that says, hello, this is me. I'm not saying you're looking to buy in the next 3 months, but I'm always here to help if necessary. Then next month, because I know the area that they were looking in, I may the system may send them a few opportunities, a few homes that may have been up for sale within that month period. And then in the future, it might be some tips on maintenance for fall, things to do in your home. So that's the kind of cadence that you need to be able to develop with your audience to make sure that there's relevant information. And some of these transactions, especially in real estate, can happen 2-3 years from now. They're not, it's a very relationship-based business.